Saxon Algebra 1/2, Lesson 11. Greetings, students. We're going to talk today about equal groups. Equal groups is oh my gosh, excuse me. I start right off with a yawn. It's code for multiplication or division. Usually it's multiplication. But what we have are word problems about equal groups, and that's a big fat hint that we'll be using multiplication and division. So let's dive in and look at the first one. Oh, Gracie's here to say hello. Hi, Grace. Good girl. We're going to do some math. You ready? Good dog. Okay, I'll read it to you. 42 students can ride on each bus. If there are 12 students, how many students can ride to the game? All right, so I'm just going to jot down some notes based on that involve the numbers. 42 students per bus. And we have 12 buses. I do recommend that you do something like this when you're starting your homework. Take a few little notes as you're thinking about the problem and trying to figure out what you're going to do with all this. How many students can ride to the game? Okay, so we're looking to find out how, if we put 42 kids on each bus and we have 12 buses, how many kids can go in all? It's multiplication. It's 42 times 12. Right? That's how many kids on each bus, and that's how many buses. Okay? So that's the problem. I've set it up. Now I'm going to rewrite it so that I can multiply better. I'll squiggle that out so I don't confuse myself, and we'll multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. This, I put the 0 there. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 4 is 4. We add 4, 0, 5. Because it's a word problem, I remember that my answer should have a word in front of it. So that means we can take 504 students to the game. You don't have to write a novel, right? Just say students. And that's the right answer. Yay. 504. Great. Let's try another one. I'll hope that it fits on the page. Let's see if we can make it work. Ready? 42 students can ride on each bus. Okay, well, we already know that. It's the same as before. 42 students can ride on each bus. I'll write one bus. There are 1,264 students who want to go to the game. 1,264 want to go. How many buses are needed to take all the students to the game? Okay, this time we know how many kids go on the bus, but we don't know how many buses there are, but this many kids want to go. This problem requires us to take the 1,264 students that want to go and divide them up by 42 kids in a bus, and then that will tell us how many buses we need. So this is the hard part, you guys, is taking the words and trying to find the problem inside of it. And, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And there's no single formula or step-by-step process I can give you that will work every time for that. What we have to do is simply logic it out with each little story, and that's why people get annoyed by word problems, story problems, whatever you want to call them, because you really do just have to think about them and figure it out, and, you know, we wish it was easier. All right, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to carry this problem to the other page. 1264 divided by 42. I remember that the way that I write that is 1,264 goes inside the division box and 42 goes on the outside. All right. And we're trying to figure out how many buses. All right, so I'm gonna guess 42 into 12. It's not gonna fit in one, it's not gonna fit in 12. 126, that should work. I'm guessing that it should probably work 3 times, because 3 times 4 is 12. But now we'll actually multiply. Remember, our algorithm is estimate, multiply, I'm a breathing, subtract, and bring down. Those are the 4 steps of long division. I estimated, that's the hard part. I multiplied, I'm doing that right now. 6, 3 times 4 is 12. Oh, well that worked out pretty well, but look what happens. When we bring down, and there's our decimal, right? 42 doesn't go into 4. We could bring down a 0 or more, and that would still be okay in terms of the division, but then we'd be creating decimal parts of students, and we can't do that. So we're left with the fact that what we need here is 30 buses, but then we have 4 kids left over, right? This is how many buses we get as our answer, but there's a remainder of 4. So when we think of the logic of that, we think we're actually gonna need 31 buses to get all of these kids to the game. 30 of them will be full, and one of them, I mean, if depending on how people choose to sit, there could just be 4 kids on that bus, but maybe they'll redistribute themselves. But we have to have 31 buses to get everybody on the bus. All right, one more problem, and we are done with this lesson. Example 11.3. 560 students will be divided as evenly as possible between 34 buses. How many students will ride on each bus? Okay, so once again, we've got students and buses, but it's a different kind of problem, so we have to think it through. We have this many kids, we have this many buses, we have to divide them into groups to fit on each bus, and that tells us what to do. We take 560 students and say, let's divide them up into the 34 buses and see how many will fit on each bus. $34 goes into 56 once. There's my estimate. Now I multiply. 1 times 34 is 34. Now I subtract. Bring down. Okay. I'm ready to start my process again. I estimate how many times does 34 go into 220? Well, I think, okay, 3 times 7 is 21. Maybe if we multiply 7 times this, we'll get a number that's less than that, but I'm gonna test it because I don't know. The 7 times 4 is gonna make a pretty big number, and I don't know if this number is gonna be big enough. 28, yeah, see, 21, 22, 23. I do a little side multiplication to test my best guess, and I see that's too high, right? 7 times 34 is actually that. It's too much, so I'm gonna go with 16 instead. 6 times 4 is 24, carry the 2, 18, 19, 20. We subtract, and we get a remainder of 16, which is super confusing because this is how many students per bus. But we've got 16 students left. And I wish those numbers weren't the same. Left, not lift. I wish these numbers weren't the same because that just makes it super confusing. That doesn't need to be there. This is remainder. So what we have to do is we have to imagine those 34 buses. Do you see them parked in the parking lot? We're gonna put 16 students on every bus. But then these 16 kids are gonna go one by one to add, we're gonna put one of them on each one of the buses till they're all used up. So we'll have 34 buses. We're gonna give 16 each bus. Then for 16 buses, we have to add one more kid, right? All right, the fact that these two numbers are the same makes it very confusing, but just imagine we have 34 buses, we put 16 kids on each bus, then we take these leftover 16 kids and we just send one to each bus. So 16 buses will have 17 kids, right? The 16 original plus, we'll put one more student to use up this last 16, and then the remaining buses, they won't get an extra kid, so they'll just have 16 kids. And that is our total of 34 buses in all. So this is my answer. Okay? Which is right, but if we wanted to check it, this is what we could do. All right, I'm just copying my answer from the other page. We said 16 buses have 17 kids, and 18 buses have just the 16 kids. We can multiply these both out, add them, and see if we got the total number of kids, which was 504? No, 560. 560. I'm saying kids instead of students because it's easier to write. That's how many kids we have to account for. So 16 times 17, 42, 11. Okay, I'm just doing the multiplication over here. That accounts for 272 kids. And then these other buses that didn't get the additional kid, I'm going to multiply these. Go ahead and do the multiplication yourself. You don't have to copy my doing this. I should say that whenever I want you to actually do the work yourself instead of just copying me. Please do this multiplication yourself. And you can then check to make sure that you have the same answer as me. Okay, so I've done my multiplication, 16 times 17, 18 times 16, and now I'll add these two together and see if I got that number. And go ahead and add that yourself, and look, yay! So, this, I had it on the other page, but I'll go ahead and just box it up again here so you can see it. That is the correct answer. So, that's the moral of our story, ladies and gentlemen. When you hear the expression equal groups, that means some combination of multiplication or division, and you have to just listen to the story and try to logic out what John is telling you to do. Yay! Good job. Lesson 11 is completed. Good luck with your homework. I believe in you. Just keep on doing the great job you've been doing. I know it takes a lot of focus and concentration to get through these lessons, not only one every day, but multiple times a week. But just remember, I believe in you. This is going to make such a difference, you guys. It really works, and I'm proud of you for sticking with it. All right, I'll see you for lesson 12.